Welcome back, Rich Tech Podcast, episode 15. The Fit Gods are back.
I'm not gonna lie, I almost lost track of episodes. I was like, which one is it?
I always make sure to check in, so get the count straight. We took a little bit of a break. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Rested.
Well rested.
Well rested.
Amazing.
Put a lot of shows out.
We did, man. We had a run.
Yeah, man.
And we come back for another one. So this should be a good season. We'll have a couple of surprises, in store for you all. But first things first, we just wanted to get the guys back together again and do what we do best. But before we move on, wrist check. Rashawn, you want to kick us off? What are you working with? Last time we saw you, you were double fisting. It was your birthday.
I was double fisted for my birthday.
And he was talking crazy. I'm never gonna repeat a watch.
Yes. I was feeling myself. I was feeling very spicy. Had to switch things up a little bit. But I came back to my Orient open heart.
Oh, so you did repeat a watch.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Well, I haven't repeated one on the show, but I have shared this watch.
You never wore that here?
Never wore it here.
Okay, he's got us.
You sure?
Yes.
I think now that I think about it, he is. Yeah. He talked about getting the watch.
Yes.
But he never actually wore it on the show.
So the watch gods have answered my prayers, and now I'm rocking the Orient Open Heart. What I love about it the most is just that exhibition display on the dial. It's a no-brainer for me. The price point, at $300, super affordable. Case size is perfect. Actually, you guys know smaller cases is more my jam, but this one actually fits perfectly.
What's the case size you said? It's at a
39.
It's a 39? Nice.
39.5.
Cool.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Sweet spot. Fits the wrist perfectly. Japanese design. You guys know I have such a connection with Japanese. I think they're the ones that, are going to kind of champion the idea of like watch design very, very soon. So this here for me is one of those watches like must have.
Respect.
For sure.
Respect. Yeah, I think we posted that watch on the gram once. We did like a little reel with that thing. It got a lot of love.
Yeah.
People are feeling
now
it.
that you say it, it's funny you say it got a lot of love because we posted it for Valentine's Day.
I did post it.
Yeah.
I posted for Valentine's Day.
Oh, you did?
So
Okay.
I got it on Christmas.
Right.
And I posted it on Valentine's Day because my lady friend was wearing one with me.
Respect.
They got his and
His and
open
hers.
hearts.
His and hers
So
open
sweet.
hearts. Yes.
What are you rocking
So
with today,
I'm
sir?
actually wearing a watch that I've never worn on the show, and that you would only know I own this watch if you tuned in to an Instagram live that we did a couple months ago. And it's my Swatch Jellyfish from 1994.
Nice.
So almost a birth year watch. And this is something that
Giving your age away.
Yeah, almost. It takes some guesses. This is something that I was not looking for at all. I saw it randomly on Instagram. Theo and Harris actually posted it. I got it.
Yeah, they did
Yeah.
have that on there.
I got it Christmas
site.
2019, if I'm not mistaken. It was
Yeah.
2019 or 2018. And they randomly posted it, and I read about it. And the post was saying how they just got a handful in. And when I did my homework on it, I realized that they only made these for a couple years. They stopped making them in 1998, and they started in 1990.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I got to get it. And then when I realized how short the supply was, he only had 5 of them.
Oh, wow.
So I saw the post. I did a quick Google search.
Yeah.
I read 4 or 5 different things about him, and I just jumped on it.
Respect.
And then I found out it was almost a birth year watch from 94 because the paperwork says the year that it was produced.
Wow.
So I got the box, I got the paperwork, and mine says manufactured in 1994.
Wow.
So that's the tell.
That's tight, man.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
What's so funny too is it's so weird how when we do these wrist checks, we find how much we actually share the same ideas of design and watches in general, because I just noticed I'm wearing an open heart, and then he has a full open work.
Yeah, it's a skeletonized swatch. all see-through. That's why it's called the jellyfish.
Yeah.
And they brought this back recently, but it's not as good as the original.
No.
The new ones are way
Yeah.
bigger. They're not as see-through. This is it.
That's so cool.
And it's a 34. So
It kind of takes me back
a little bit more
to
wearable.
like some of the things about collecting timepieces that made me fall in love with in the beginning, right? It's especially like a piece like that, because it's like, you have all these watches, you work with all these timepieces, but it's like when you can actually like see inside, that's kind of like the fun of it all. Like I remember like just being a kid and like anything that you can get your hands on, like a toy or some kind of like,
Yeah, you want to figure out how it works.
you can figure out how it works, but like anything that's like see-through and like you can see
Yeah.
inside, it's like 10 times cooler.
And also, like, I just want to make this quick statement. A lot of people, even if it's a $100 quartz watch or a $3,000-$4,000 quartz Seiko or something like that, people like to knock it and say, "Oh, it's quartz. I don't want that. That's cheap." But look at this movement.
It's
What
dope.
looks cheap about it? Nothing.
Nothing.
It just runs on the battery.
That's it.
No, it's great.
Efficiency. The
Yeah,
future.
exactly.
Technology. Get used to it, folks. I am actually wearing a watch that I've worn on here before. I've been wearing this watch more and more. I got this watch for my birthday. This is a vintage a Girard Perregaux Gyromatic, blue dial. It still has like tritium looms in there. It's on the smaller side, 34 millimeter. It's got a date wheel. What's amazing with this watch is how old it is and how accurate time it keeps. This thing just grows on me every time I wear it. I love it. I think the strap really sets it off too. The shape of the case is just so like 1960s to me. It makes me think of like what's that movie with like Mos Def that it's like a remake, the race car film.
I think you got me beat. I can't even lie.
Yeah, it'll come to me. But
Okay.
there's a movie that he was in with like all of these guys. They were racing like these Mini Coopers, but it's based off of like a 1960s film.
Oh, Italian Job.
Italian Job.
Italian
There it is.
Job.
Yeah,
Italian
yeah.
Job.
Like, it just gives me those vibes.
Yes, yes, yes,
Just
yes.
like time-wise.
Italian Job.
Yeah, Italian Job. But I love this thing, man. It's a lot of fun. It's so light. I often forget that I'm actually wearing a watch.
It's the best part.
The
And then I'm
straps are
like,
patina well too.
already, yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting darker. It's nice. It's fun. And just looking at everything that Girard Perregaux is doing, it's just to own a piece of their history with all the energy that they have going on right now with their brand is kind of cool
Yeah.
too. So it's a bit of a conversation piece when you're around the right folks. Jumping right into it. This week was a huge week for Omega. Omega released, I think, 22 new watches.
Yeah, they went crazy.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting this. It just, maybe other people were. I assumed that they would be showing stuff at Watches and Wonders. I think the timing for them is perfect. And the assortment of watches that they released, I think is also timely because of what everyone is anticipating hearing at Watches and Wonders. But it also stirred up a little bit of controversy. We saw a bunch of Instagram posts
Yeah.
pop up
Yeah.
where it was
I
like,
was arguing in the comment section on one of them.
and I saw some people we know make posts too, like in the Instagram stories. I'm not going to call anyone out, but there were a lot of people saying that Omega's copying Rolex. They're biting. What are they doing? They're copying masterpieces.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
that
You
was
just had
the
to
one
go
that
there.
stood
That's the
out.
one that set me
Masterpiece.
off. I was like, huh?
Masterpiece?
Yeah. That one threw me for a loop, and I was like, "What are we talking about here?"
Well, my comment on that post that like sparked conversation literally said, "Rolex makes masterpieces?" ? And that set cut people off.
Of course it did. Of course it did. Rolex makes great watches, obviously. Like, we're fans. Masterpieces? We could save that for another episode.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's actually-
that's a whole episode.
Yeah,
that is a whole episode in its own.
But in talking about the assortment, what were some of you guys' favorite pieces?
Gold Speedy, man.
The Gold Speedy.
yeah.
Gold
Speedy.
Speedies. Gold Speedies, the 57 in red. And that the titanium.
Oh yeah,
Ultra
the
Deep.
57. The 57 in red
Did it red and green.
is fire.
Yeah.
They did a red and green, the reduced speeds. Yeah, those are dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot. For me, I personally, I gotta say, and it's kind of funny, but I really enjoy the colored dial
Ultra
Aqua
Terra.
Terra.
Yeah. They're hot.
Yeah.
I really do.
That like periwinkle blue and that really bright red. That's where it's at.
Yo,
Yeah.
those are fire.
We agreed
the
on
red
the red.
dial, I
Yeah,
think, is the
Yeah,
best.
the red's
We
the
agreed
best.
on the red.
Red's the best.
We agreed on the red being the best.
I think I found the blue dial I might actually really like. It's not that dark, navy blue that everybody does. But it's dark enough.
It is, yeah. The blue is fire. I mean, and even together, and so they separated it too, right? So they did a bunch of different colors. So this group here with the blue, green, the champagne, and then there's kind of like it's like a sunburst mustard.
Yeah, it's not yellow. It's not orange.
yellow. It's
Yeah.
kind of
It kinda-
almost gold, but
It
it's not
kind of
quite
looks
gold.
like the dial color to that Dubai edition resins we spoke about earlier.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like this weird like patina gold, like champagne almost.
So those are the 38 millimeter versions.
Yeah.
And then there's a host of 34 millimeter versions that come in some sort of like kind of muted little pastel assortment. But I think these were done really well. And I think this is the collection that people are the most upset about.
Yes.
At least, yeah, because of the colored OP dials.
Yes.
That are so hot right now.
Well, me personally, I think I love this line from Aquaterra. From Omega and the Aquaterra line. It has been featured a lot in like GQ.
Yeah.
It's been seen on a lot of people of influence. Giannis, of course, we know him being a big watch collector. He owns a Aquaterra. Will Smith was like heavily wearing the Aquaterra in his GQ campaigns. But for me, what I would have wanted to see from this line was a full precious metal piece
For the Aquaterra?
for the Aquaterra.
That's the thing.
I wanted to see like them do more gold pieces outside of
But they do have a
Speedy.
gold
Yeah,
Aquaterra.
Daniel-
No, they do, but I'm saying like as far as if they would have did like the new colorways on the dial and did one of them
Sure.
precious
Like a special
metal,
color in
like
gold.
that I think that would have then kind of like took a little bit of the flack off of them, like, oh, they're trying to copy and they're trying to do this or whatever.
What would you have wanted to see if they went that route? Because they have Daniel Craig wore the rose gold and silver dial on the Bond premiere.
Yes.
With that like very fancy, very handsome looking pink tux.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you designed a gold one? What would it look like?
I mean, to be honest, I love Omega's like rose gold. Like their rose gold is like kind of like that blushes.
It's like pink.
It's like
Yeah.
pink. But I've only, if I'm not mistaken, I think they only do that on the ladies' Aquaterra.
Well, Craig's Aquaterra was that color.
It was that
it's
color?
Rose and silver, yeah.
Ah,
Rose,
yeah.
all rose with that silver dial.
Okay.
It's that red gold.
Okay, so then that makes sense. So I think I love the way that Omega does their like rose because it's more pink than it would be kind of like vibrant red.
I would have loved to see them take that Speedy colorway, that rose and green, and dump it on an Aquaterra.
That would be nice
fire.
too. Yeah.
Or I mean, that yellow, gold, and green.
That would be
Yellow-
fire.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
they did rose with like a slightly darker green dial, like what's on the Aquaterra and steel now.
Sure.
Because it's almost a gradient, it looks black on the edges. That would have been crazy.
So the thing that I find most interesting, then there's a lot of interesting stuff here, but this sort of the hate that this thing got.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and I could be pulling out of nowhere, but I feel like if you're mad at this, you've probably never seen an Aquaterra in person.
Probably.
It's a nice watch.
Yep.
It's very nice.
When you see it, it's like, man, that's really good. it looks better in person than in photographs.
And the movements on these are amazing too. And I'm just talking about how they work. I'm talking about you turn it over and see the movement.
They're incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So obviously I have a green OP.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We went
Revealed
over
that
that.
already.
We revealed that. You know, obviously I'm gonna keep it, but there's a part of me, I'm not gonna lie, I had a thought. I was like, man, if I could like sell that and get like 4 Aqua Terras, which people would like be like, what the hell are you thinking? But man, these are so much fun. And I think I understand, you know, people's gripes. I get that part too. I think obviously calling a spade, yeah, sure, why not? They were influenced. They were like, they did it. Let's go for it.
We can
Why
make
not?
it.
we could do it better.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or we could do it better.
But also, it's like, I think, you know, the Omega customer like is a different client from the Rolex customers. And I think Rolex guys know this, right? Like a lot of Omega guys, like true Omega guys are like almost like anti-Rolex.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree to that.
yes.
And what this is for me, as opposed to like the Rolex colored OP collection,
Catering to those guys that will never buy a color of the Rolex.
A, but B, there's a, you know, the intention behind the Rolex OP collection, I feel like it was supposed to be fun, not serious, and just like kind of like a good time. And you can't really have that with Rolex right now because of the demand that exists.
Yes.
They become hype pieces that everyone is after. Whereas this group serves that purpose for the Omega client, or even just someone who just wants to have fun with their timepiece.
Yeah.
That's the only way to enjoy this. This is not serious.
No.
It's just a lot of fun. And so it brings the joy back to me for what that collection was supposed to be.
Yeah, this probably won't be, if you're an Omega guy, this obviously won't be your first watch. But imagine how many younger people are getting into watches and saw this and were like, oh, this is great. I want one.
And if you are an Omega guy who's like, happen to be going to Miami this weekend, and you're like, yeah, get a new watch.
There you go.
Tons of
Yeah.
fun.
Tons of
Screw
fun.
down crown, take
Why
it to
not?
the beach.
Take it with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are gonna look at it and be like, what the hell is that? And you're gonna show them, they'll be like, it's not a Rolex,
Yes.
but it's great.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I love it. I thought great execution. I'm a fan of the Aqua Terra. I want one. I am an Omega guy at heart. It still is my favorite brand. But I thought they hit it out the park.
Yeah.
The next one for me that I thought was really, really interesting, and I do love the gold ones, and I think we can come back to that.
Yeah, I think we saved that for last.
But the Ultra Deep, fire execution. Now, I was talking to someone recently about this watch who was a little upset about it. They thought it was kind of, you know, foolish. But this watch didn't just come out of nowhere,
Nope.
right? Omega did this already in 2019.
Yeah, it was a prototype.
It was a prototype, and now they brought it back as a commercially available dive watch, deep dive watch for the public.
Deep.
Ultra deep.
ultra
one would say.
deep.
That was a terrible dad joke.
Yeah. So they have a variety of steel versions that where you can get on the strap, a bracelet. Cool. To me, the coolest thing here is the titanium version.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the titanium piece is hot fire. It is a big watch. It is 45.5 millimeters wide. I think that equals out to just about like 1.5 millimeters wider than the
deep sea.
The deep sea.
On that's
sea
and that's
level.
on paper. So it doesn't mean anything when you put it on.
It doesn't, because this one, and I was talking to the gentleman about this. The lugs on this are really short, and they kind of turn
And they
in.
curve, yeah. Like a
Curve. So when
Speedmaster
you
does.
look at them on people's wrists, they actually wear really nicely. The case is thick. It's 18.12 millimeters thick, and I looked that up. It's only 0.5 millimeter thicker than the deep sea dweller. So this watch is slightly bigger, but the titanium version is going to be significantly lighter
and stronger than the steel.
and stronger. And this thing the deep sea is what, 12,800 feet?
Yeah, this is 20.
20,000 feet deep.
Yes. You know what's so funny? When I think about this watch, what I think Omega's doing right now is they're trying to stamp that they actually make superior watches than their competitors.
That's exactly what it feels like.
So it's like, oh, you guys do what? We do this.
Exactly. And I was thinking about that. And so in terms of the argument that everyone is making where it's like they're copying, imagine someone doing exactly what you just did, but better.
Yes. And that's the craziest part because, you know, let's call a spade. Rolex stays true to their design, their technology, and so many other things. So we know that the most complicated watch that they made, being the Sky Dweller, was created in 2012.
Yeah.
I mean, the Perpetual Calendar was in 1925. So, like, we know Rolex kind of stays to their niche, but as far as technology, they're not really that innovative.
No.
There are brands out there that do better, greater, and have a little bit more significance. So when you look at the Ultra Deep and you go ahead and say, well, a professional is going to take this watch and he's actually going to dive with it. He's going to trust the fact that he can go to those, he can rely on that watch and he can go to those depths, because going down there could cost him his life.
Sure, absolutely. There's, there's that. There's also the historian. The client who collects dive watches, who's just like, I want this because I recognize what it is. They're the guys who, I think dive as a hobby and realize, they might realize like, hey, $12,000 for this, it's a lot of money, but you know what? I'll never need another dive watch in my life.
Yeah.
This is it. One and done.
The other thing too is that a lot of people who are saying like, oh, like are nitpicking at this, like, oh, like this is copying or whatever they're saying in the negative light. You're not the kind of person that's using this anyway.
No.
Imagine how many people out here who really dive.
Yeah.
As
This
a
is exciting
hobby,
for them.
as a profession, right?
Yes.
They saw this and were like, wow.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Well, think about this too. Like, Omega is the official timekeeper for the Olympics. I mean, that is, an accolade in itself. The fact that, the most greatest stage known to humanity is the Olympics. They could have chose any brand. They chose this brand.
And they perform better.
And they perform, exactly. They perform better and they go ahead and they show, okay, great. Everybody's making dive watches, but they ain't making them like this. Everybody has a chronograph, but they ain't making it like this.
It goes back to, sort of that phrase that people always say that, Rolex sells watches, Omega makes them.
Yes.
I mean, how often have we heard that? And I think it rings true here. I think there's also like, if we're being honest, there's some misses. The all green Seamaster Diver 300. It's cool.
I mean, that's the least exciting of the bunch.
Yeah,
it's still gonna pop off though. Like
it will.
Green's been a trend the last year or so.
100%.
I think it's been a long time coming. I know plenty of guys who before green became trendy were like, yo, like I would love if this was in green. Green's my favorite color.
Yes.
Now you got the option.
Exactly. I think for that person who A, wants a green watch, B, already likes the Seamaster Diver 300,
they're gonna buy this.
No brainer.
I'm not gonna lie. If a couple years ago, if green became what blue did, I would love green dial watches. Green's one of my favorite colors.
Now the Speedmaster 57 in green, fire.
Yep.
Fire.
This thing is amazing.
Fire, 100%.
And this is the reduced. It's got the date wheel. This thing is dope, man.
And
how much is it? 86.
8,600.
And the coolest thing too is like, Omega, they answered the call. Everyone was like, oh, where's the reduce? Where's the reduce? Where's the reduce?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they brought these back too, especially like after what happened with like the Canopus.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that. I thought maybe they'd be like, on the 57, kind of like one and done.
Yeah.
And they're not.
They're not.
And, I think whatever, like they're getting back out there. Obviously, we know what's happening with Rolex right now. And, if the people aren't being serviced or being able to get what they want, it's like
You're going to look elsewhere.
you have a viable option in a brand that has the history, has the prestige, and makes quality timepieces.
Yes.
You know, none of these watches are pieces to scoff at. They're desirable, you know, amongst collectors and well respected. Anyone would be happy to have these in their collection.
Absolutely. I think that these pieces, and I can make this prediction because I think it is something that is a little bit different from Omega. I wouldn't be surprised because the number probably will not be disclosed, but I think that this is going to be limited runs and limited production. And when it's gone, that's when you'll see people appreciate it.
I think they're going to be hard to get your hands on at first.
Yes.
You'll see an influx in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then dry for a long time.
Oh, 100%.
Now the creme de la creme is the Moonshine Gold.
Yes.
Yes.
Moonshine Gold.
That photo too goes hard.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now people were saying that this was a copy of the
John Mayer.
John Mayer,
Did
which
people
I don't
say
see
that?
at all.
Did people say that about the green and gold AP?
I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, me either.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that at all.
People were like, "Oh my God, it's limited edition out of 100. I gotta get one."
This thing is beautiful. So it's a Speedmaster Professional. It's got the Moonshine Gold proprietary. It's expensive.
35.
30, basically $35,000.
Yep.
You know, we talked about the Canopus Gold, which is 81,000, which a lot of people upset about, and whatever. We talked about that. I get it. But if you are in the market for a very luxurious Speedmaster Professional, an 81 is too ridiculous of a price for you to pay. Perhaps $34K is not for an all gold Omega Speedmaster with this beautiful dark green dial. This thing is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. That's a hot watch. I don't see that being displayed in any
Yeah,
jewelers.
I think that's gonna be gone immediately.
It's gonna be gone immediately. I mean, I've already spoken to a few retailers about you know, the demand in that watch, and they've already taken max deposits on them
Really?
before they even have delivered.
Wow.
You know, people are already saying like, well, you can't get one. You gotta wait until the next go around. Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I would absolutely take this over John Mayer.
Oh, 100%.
I would too.
Like, investment talk aside, like just aesthetically, this, I mean, it doesn't even compare. Like,
It
this
checks all the boxes.
is the champion here.
It checks all the boxes: design, technology,
And you can see the movement.
history.
You can see the movement.
It's got everything, and it's a superior timepiece. It just literally
Such a
is
smart
superior-
move
yeah.
for Omega. I mean, this is what they're most known for. This is what everyone loves about them, and it's just like, yeah, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but just put some shiny rims on it, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to Omega, incredible week. What do you think is the response to the gray market on something like this?
I think the price is going to be inflated.
Yeah. You could see these watches trading for.
Yeah. Retail's 40, 60.
But I don't think anybody that's buying these watches are gonna sell them.
I think it's a fair point.
Yeah, that is a good point, but if they do come up for sale, people are going to try to get more than what they pay for them because they figure they probably can.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they're not going to.
You might see a couple of them. I don't think you'll see them like how you see Rolexes popping
Here
up
and
on the secondary market.
Because even if you look at the secondary market now, I mean, like, you see Speedies on there, but like, are you really seeing many?
Not
Not
the
really.
thing is that you don't see Speedies trading for more than retail value.
Exactly.
And that's because you can actually buy a Speedy.
Yeah.
But look at the Snoopy.
Oh,
Facts.
well,
Right?
but,
At both Snoopies. Well, actually, there's 3 versions of Snoopies. All 3 are selling for more in retail, right?
but there's also a requirement to get in order to get one.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying because it's harder to get,
yes,
at least at a retail level.
yes.
It's like you can make the demand to sell it for more.
I'm going to make it.
So that's the same thing with this.
A
This is
prediction.
going to be hard to get.
I think, I mean, and you mentioned that too. So I think you guys are in agreement. This is obviously, like you're saying, like people are putting deposits on this. This is going to be hard to get.
Yes.
I'll make a prediction. I don't think it's going to get super crazy, but I do think that this might be the piece. This in particular, the gold and green might be the piece from Omega that you see start to trade higher than retail.
Oh, yeah.
Like where people are really after it. I don't know if you'll see a bunch of them on the market, but you really don't need to, and that'll drive the price up.
Yeah, I
even
was
higher,
gonna say
right?
not having a bunch of them on the market is gonna make the price go up.
Exactly. So
'Cause
it's like if
it's-
you already limited access to this because it's so hot, and people aren't really selling them. Imagine what happens when one pops up.
I can't wait to see one of these go at an auction in like 3 years randomly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like a random watch auction.
It's funny too because I always think when you think about the John Mayer and the reason why it's called the John Mayer, you think about that Hodinkee episode where he's like, "I think this is special," and it turns out to be that way.
Yes.
I kind of feel that way about this one. I feel like, yeah, whatever. A lot of people are upset about it, but look at this piece. This could be something. This could be a big deal.
Especially if it's around for a couple of years.
Exactly.
It will be something. It'll be
sure.
like it'll be that crown jewel of Omega. It's like people want to work their way
100%.
up.
Like,
to getting
man,
it.
I was so enthralled and captivated by Rolex. I missed this.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel like that could be like the theme of 2022. And we'll see after Watches and Wonders, but
Yes.
people are going to be, so Rolex hungry. How many gems are they going to miss
Yeah.
in 2022?
A lot of people
Because they just want to roll it.
A lot of people are gonna
Interesting.
miss. Yeah, yeah.
You had something to say? Go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say is, like, it's so funny how now, when we are talking about new releases, like the next inevitable conversation is gray market. What happens next?
It's a necessary evil,
It's a
right?
necessary
It's
evil.
kind of like that's kind of how you can measure the success, popularity,
Yes.
demand of a piece
Yeah.
is by sort of benchmarking it against like what happens after.
Yeah, what happens after it's
purchase.
sold? Yeah.
Yeah. Makes me even feel like makes it feel like the music industry where it's like, oh, this artist is gonna do X amount their first week, or they're projected to
Sure,
do
a little
so,
bit.
so and so. It's like it's so weird how we gauge things.
This is what it is now, though.
It's what it is now.
Moving along, since the last time we got together, GP made a special announcement and a special release, and they brought back the. So is it the cassette or the casquette? How do you
Casquette.
pronounce this
Well,
thing?
Casquette.
Casquette in French,
Right.
but cassette in
Got our resident French.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna talk about yeah. How you say it? Jeje?
Jeje le
Jeje
coûte.
le
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm just saying.
The casquette.
The casquette.
Way.
All the French I know is really bad for the show, so
Oh,
I'm gonna keep
man.
it to myself.
So yeah, they re-released this thing. This is the 2.0, and coming off of we had an episode dedicated to the only watch auction, and they had done like
Yeah, they're the carbon one.
they did a carbon version of this that was a piece unique. So they brought this thing back, and it was limited to what? It was like 800 something.
820.
820
Yeah.
units. It sold out immediately on their website. They
Yep.
had the first sale there. The AD Watches of Switzerland, I think, had the next go around for the U.S. markets, right? And March 7th, it went live globally.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like now, other jewelers and authorized dealers.
I'm pretty sure they're already gone though.
Yeah, they're definitely going.
Like, period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's sold out on the website. Whatever amount, I
Yeah,
don't know.
whatever that stock was.
I don't know
is
what
gone.
the stock amount was, but they sold out, and I think it was like within
Probably
the
like
first
half.
hour.
Yeah. Like the
Right,
first
like it
one.
was gone.
'Cause
It
from-
might have been sooner than that.
From what I heard, ADs weren't getting a lot anyway. They're getting like 5 pieces tops.
tops.
So they probably sold a few hundred.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This thing bangs. What was your first like initial
When
reaction
I
to this?
saw this one, I was like, this is hot. I was like, this is fire.
Agreed.
And then I was like, oh, ceramic and rubber, fire.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
That's where it won me over. Were the materials, like doing this in ceramic
Yep.
with the
Super
rubber,
light, you ain't gonna scratch
and then the
it.
titanium case back, the titanium clasp. It
I
just
know-
kind of.
Sorry, I know some people who had a beef with the titanium clasp because they said, oh, it should just be all black.
Nah, I like it. I think the contrast is dope.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
my-
70s.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me like the whole vibe is just Knight Rider.
Yep,
Oh,
it's
100%.
kids.
Like,
Yeah, it's kids.
like the whole thing just takes you back. Like, I think this thing is dope. My only beef with this watch is the fact that like it just doesn't display time all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got, and then when you press the button, it stays on for like point.
It's just like a
seconds.
couple
yeah,
of
it's
seconds.
like a couple of seconds.
There's
It's
a
like-
hack though. You can hack it. You just gotta leave you can put it on the seconds setting and just leave it running.
Yeah, but then that doesn't tell me the time.
No, but you could just press it and then you can see the time in the seconds. It's all together.
Yeah, that kind of. I got a beef with that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a beef with that because, you know, we all were able to handle it. And that was definitely something that we called out. We were like, oh, this watch is great.
Like,
but
yo, like, why can't I see the time?
why can't I see the time? It was so weird. But what I do love and appreciate about this watch is that they went back to their archives and were like, okay, let's bring back something unique. Let's bring back something that's niche. We've already kind of had the steam rolling with, you know, Only Watch and the positive response that we got there. So it's like, all right, well, why don't we do something for the general public? Let's do a thank you. And we talk about that all the time, especially like these brands, they do listen to us. They do listen to the public. I hope soon they'll be listening to Wrist Check Pod, but
Hope so.
Oh, they already are. Trust me.
Yeah.
Something
I'm just
tells
being
me.
modest.
Something tells me.
I'm just being modest. But, you know, with that being said, it's like we're now starting to see that the brands have to step up their game. And that's something that I've always mentioned on the show is that you see these guys going into their bag and pulling out a new trick. And this definitely was it.
I think that's an excellent point. What I also love about this, being someone who has become, over the last year, an avid fan of GP and what they do, when you learn the history about GP and their contributions to timekeeping, that's what really excites me most about this. Because it's a little bit of a flex on their part for a brand that people don't expect to flex. And you look at the recent success they had, right? Like you think about like the Laureato Aston Martin piece that they did, and how that thing flew. And there's
look at the enamel Laureatos too.
the enamel, then there's a skeleton.
Yeah.
I know the Eternities is
Dubai Watch Week, the whole
everybody's
nine.
talking about that. And so, but for them to like, you know, they've got a little bit of hype brewing and then to reach back in their bag and like, hey, just so you know, here's our contribution to quartz. Here's our contribution to digital timekeeping.
Yep.
Like we were here first. I think it's important. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's going to get them not only the respect, but like the acclaim that they deserve, where people start to look at what they're doing now. Because here's a brand that doesn't need to innovate. Their history is innovation. Right? And so it's like we've already contributed and everyone's reaping the benefits off of it. Let's remind you. And I thought that this was timely, and I think it was an incredible response to the year that they had and what's been happening with the brand. So I fell in love with it. I thought it was dope. You know, aside from, if I'm being honest, just keeping things honest, aside from that, my only other beef, which I get, was the price. It's expensive for a digital clock.
You're paying for material, man. Let's be honest.
You're paying for material, but also like you're paying for cachet. So there's a part of me that respects it, and it's just like, you know what, GP, you should charge that much for this. Sure,
Yeah.
like put some respect on your name.
It was $4,700, by the way.
That's how much this is going to cost. Yeah. So I know like a lot, and I talked to people who were interested in it. Like, man, you know, I think that's just a little too much. And I think, you know, for those of us who were considering it, that didn't pop off, there might be a little bit of regret in the future.
There definitely will be some regret.
Yeah. But
Now, is this a watch that you see on the secondary market?
that's interesting. I haven't seen anything pop up yet. I anticipate that if it does, it will not so soon, maybe later this year. What is interesting, though, is there's almost to how this whole thing was packaged and the marketing, there's something about it that's almost kind of like a little hype beast. And I don't mean that in the bad way, but
It's
I mean
like collectible.
exactly.
It's like you won't want to get rid of it.
Exactly. And so, you know, what people talk about when they buy watches on the secondary market, and it's like the important thing is like, does it come with the original box? Does it come with the papers? I feel like for that to command a solid secondary market price, the way this thing was delivered, it has to have all those things intact. Because when you see the packaging for this, right, everything was done intentionally and it was incredibly special.
Yeah, it was packaged like a toy.
It was packaged like a toy. And so it's like, if I want this piece and I missed out on it and I'm trying to get a secondary market, I need everything.
Everything.
Like, you have to deliver it to me basically almost unopened. Like, I want the box intact.
Yeah, it's like a collectible action figure.
It really is.
People aren't paying a premium for those if the box has been opened, because you can tell.
Like, it needs to be like unopened. Box needs to be pristine. Like, when you see the way this thing is packaged, it's like I would have a hard time wearing it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I gotta have to leave it like this. Like, this is like, it's a piece of history. It's a collectible.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So shout out to GP.
Yeah.
Respect to them.
Respect the GP.
In other news, Oris has a new watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Oris Carysfort, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Forgive me, VJ. Reef limited edition. Full gold Aquis GMT. Lux.
It goes kind of hard, though.
It goes super hard.
That joint is crazy.
That
Oris
strap is
doesn't do
hot.
gold often, but when they do,
Oof.
this thing is fire, man.
Yeah. I think this gives the you know what's so funny? I think this gives the Rolex Yachtmaster 2 a run for his money.
The Oyster Flex Yachtmaster?
No. The Yachtmaster 2, the big boy.
Mm.
The big solid gold one.
I mean, so
I would wear that over the Yachtmaster 2.
I'm not mad at that. I mean,
probably would too.
I have an Aquis. Thank you. And I love it. And I think it's an incredible dive watch. The Aquis happens to be one of my favorite lines out of Oris. This one goes back to their Change for the Better initiative. And this is what I love best about Oris, is the fact that they're always kind of putting their money and their timepieces where their mouth is.
Yes.
And the initiatives that they support are, obviously important to them, and important to their fans, but they're important to people who also don't even collect watches. And I think taking that position is pretty awesome, because it just invites more people into the conversation. Mm-hmm. So this piece is limited to 50 pieces, and funds are going to support several environmental projects. Well, actually, no, sorry. No, this one is going specifically
To the Carysfort Reef.
to the Carysfort Reefs.
Yeah.
That's where this is going. Oris is donating 3 timepieces out of the 50 to the organization for auction.
Yes.
So people will be able to participate in raising more money. And mind you, this watch retails, it's retailing for about $19,000. So you have the option to buy it at an Oris retailer and support that way. But for the big spenders whom these initiatives mean a great deal to, you have an opportunity to support this foundation and their initiative by way of donating more money via the auction. I think this is incredible. And if I can just give a little bit, so this one is it's a 43.5 millimeter, 24-hour bezel. The dial is beautiful.
Yes.
Very sharp luster, blue dial.
That gold's really good.
Yeah.
Is it 24K?
The gold is
No.
so good.
It's probably 18.
18?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
And they're all numbered, and it has the Carysfort Reef illustration on the back with their goal 30,000 corals planted.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This is fire.
This is, to be honest, this is a piece that I've been dying to see from Oris.
Yeah?
Or if you want to see a gold Aquis?
I want to see a gold Aquis. I love precious metal pieces, period.
Sure.
I'm even going back to Omega. It's like, I want to see a gold watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, gold watches is where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and you know what I mean? It's just always, like I've spoken about before, it's like, it kind of speaks to my my interests in everything. Like just even when I listen to music, it's like gold watch, gold chain. You know, what was that? Gold everything. What was that? What was the artist? Trinidad James. It's like,
man,
you know what I mean? Like you've been programmed to be like, you know, gold is king. Yes, like I love a gold watch. A gold watch signifies success. It you know, it represents power.
What's cool too, though, is, you know, keeping true to their DNA. Like this piece is super luxe. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
And Oris makes beautiful watches. We know that they don't do precious metals. It's just not something that they typically do. This one is executed really well, but I also think like what I love about them is you have an opportunity to flex something that they don't do often for a good cause.
Yes.
Right? And so it's like, this is super luxe. It's an expensive timepiece. You're not going to run into a lot of people about it. They're going to ask you about it. And you get to talk about this great initiative and this great company that is making a difference, you know, through engaging watch collectors and, you know, if we're being honest, like wealthy people.
Yes. This is another piece, because now this is like the second piece that we've seen in a short period of time. Because remember when they released the Sun Wukong, the one that was the enamel dial, and the price point there, what was it, 27,000? Like now you're seeing Oris kind of step into this other bracket and this other price point, and because they have so much freedom, they're not necessarily under pressure to sell these watches.
They're gonna sell them.
They're gonna sell them. No, of course they're gonna sell them, but they're not under that pressure.
They don't need to keep any shareholders happy.
No,
exactly. Yeah,
because they're independent.
They're totally independent. They can just do this for the pure love of doing it. Yes.
Also, a smart move in terms of choosing the right watch, right? Like the Aquis is a really popular line that they do. People love dive watches. This particular one has a GMT function.
Yes.
Which I think is smart for the person that's purchasing this watch, right? Because this is, you're giving them an excuse to wear this in the purpose.
Yeah, if someone's going to use this to dive, they're probably not going to be in the same time zone that they live in.
No, exactly, right? And this is for the jet setter. Like, you going somewhere, like, you can wear this and feel good about your contribution. It's not just like
I'm flexing on everybody diving with me.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I'm a really wealthy guy.
I'm wearing a gold watch to dive in. It's like, no, I'm wearing a gold watch to dive in because I contributed to helping
to
the
this
Carysfort
cause.
Reef.
And the guy or the woman that runs in these circles, they're gonna get asked about that. What is this gold watch you wear?
Yeah, what's the Carysfort Reef? What is this foundation?
And then you get to tell them about it.
Exactly.
And this is the kind of thing that continues to carry forward and actually make a difference. So I love it. I think it's great. Awesome job, Oris. Home run again.
Knock it out the park.
Knock out of the park. And they're on fire, man. They did the Sun Wukong again, right, with the enamel dial, which I'm dying to see in person.
Yes.
I have to see this watch. And then, they recently put out a number of hits, and there's another one that you're going to talk about later today. So, shout out to Oris.
Yeah, pull up, VJ. We miss you.
Yeah, we miss you, VJ.
And bring the enamel Sun Wukong for Perri.
He might have to charge me for that one. I don't know. We'll talk about it. So our next subject or segment, we've been getting a lot of feedback from our audience, which has been incredible. And one of the things that we wanted to revisit was entry-level watches and watch brands. So we wanted to gather a couple of pieces for us to talk about. We broke this one down into categories, right? So dress watch, tool watch, sports watch, which pretty much covers all of our bases. And so the goal was to bring an assortment to choose, anything we wanted, for under $2,000. And so we did that, and we're going to get right into that. Which one of you guys want to share first?
Let's touch on dress.
Let's touch on dress watch. Maybe we can do it that way, right? Yeah. Let's go categorically.
Yeah.
And go one by one. So
let's do that.
Rashawn, why don't you kick us off? You chose the Timex Marlin.
Yes. So I chose the Timex Marlin Blackout,
Okay.
which was actually a special edition with Todd Snyder.
Okay.
So the coolest thing about that piece, it can be had at about $200, and it's a manual wound movement.
I didn't expect that.
Something that you something that you don't expect.
I didn't even. I'm not gonna lie. When you told us what you were gonna talk about, I was like, oh, it's quartz. That's why it's so cheap. Or I'm sorry, cheap's a bad word. Inexpensive.
Yes.
That's why the price is so low. And then you just said that, and I'm like,
Well, it's that's really what, like, spoke to me the most was the mechanical part of it, because we always associate Timex with quartz watches.
definitely, I definitely do.
But that's also a new advent, right?
Yes.
Like, because they've been making watches for how long? Like,
For a long time.
for a very long
most
time.
of the watches that they've done were mechanical watches.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
My introduction to Timex was working at J. Crew a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything was quartz.
So that's why I also shared this timepiece too, because it speaks to just where we come from, and a fashion background where we're seeing these designers actually partner with these iconic watch brands and then going ahead and creating something special. The coolest callback to me is the case size.
It's a 34 millimeter.
34 millimeter.
Perfect.
That's me all the way. I love the design of the dials where it has the Arabic numerals, but then also has like the sticks
Right.
as well. So that was really cool. Then that lizard texture strap, which is really cool. I mean, just through and through, if you want like a dress watch that's gonna go ahead and serve all the purposes, whether it's black tie, evening out with the lady, evening out with the fellas, so on and so forth, like, this is the watch you wear.
The dial on this is really good. The
dial is
super Art
great.
Deco font.
It's
Yes.
got, yeah.
It
the
looks
font
more
is
expensive
Art
than
Deco.
what it is.
Yeah, the Art Deco font. My apologies, it's not Arabic. It's the Art Deco font.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of say it's Arabic, but I mean, look at 6 and 4 o'clock. They're curved, right?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
point on 12 curves in. So, but it's still super sharp. That's like something that was done in the 40s and the 50s. Like AP was doing stuff like that in the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah, it was like that mid-century design. This is definitely like 50s, 60s.
There's some really old Universal Geneves that have fonts like that.
Exactly.
I think this is great for a number of reasons. I mean, A, I love Timex. B, very familiar with the Marlin. It's a great design. They do a variety of different dial colors and cases, and they're all really, really cool. There was a green and like gold colored one that I really, really love. But also, I think I know a lot of Timex dudes that just love Timex, and I'm a big fan. And for someone who's just getting into timepieces, an amazing entry point. But also, I think, for that person that does collect and have a lot of watches, I think it's good to have diversity in your collection, diversity in price point, diversity in materials. And also, like, let's be honest, it's like, it's $200. It's not expensive. Like, it is, the value for the money is incredible, right? This is a mechanical movement. But also, it's like, you need a couple of pieces in your collection that, like, depending on the situation, scenario, wherever you might be going, it is appropriate.
Yes.
And I think that's a conversation that not enough people have, too. Like, being aware of your audience, aware of your surrounding, and like, there are definitely occasions where Timex is the appropriate watch that you want to wear.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like, depending on where you're going, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, you need one in your collection. Everybody should have a Timex. You should have a Timex dress watch. You should have a Timex dive watch.
Yes.
Absolutely. It'll get the job done. You won't be upset that you have it.
Agreed.
Great choice.
Thank you.
You got one for us.
Yeah, I maxed the budget out on this one.
Oh, man.
The way I saw it, I was like, hey, if 2000's the cap, the dress watch has to be the most expensive one.
Sure. Go for the gusto.
Yeah, it should be the nicest one that you're gonna have.
Got you. And so, am I right that you're going for the Oris?
Yep, the Oris Servo Volante collaboration.
Okay.
My personal favorite of the bunch, they did 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's a green kind of gradient dial. There's a blue. My favorite's the gray.
Okay.
I went with the gray because it's super neutral,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I think of a dress watch. The first thing I'm thinking of is how often can I wear it? Like
Right.
I want this to be the go-to dress watch.
Mm-hmm.
So if you only have one, whether it be a $2,000 or a $20,000 dress watch, especially now pre-COVID and quarantine, nobody's really having events where they gotta dress up.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna get one and be like, okay, I want this to be the only one. I'm not really gonna wear this as often as I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should go with the gray.
Okay.
Neutral dial. You can take any strap you want, put it on there, and it's just gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I know you're a fan of dress watch with the date. This has a pointer
I was
date.
just thinking that. Yeah.
This has a pointer date, and it's automatic.
It's automatic.
So low maintenance, and you can see the movement on it.
You can see the movement. It has a pointer date. It's interesting to look at, especially if you are new to watches. You probably aren't accustomed to looking at a pointer date system watch.
Nope.
The dial is beautiful. It's super conversation piece. People, for as many fans as Oris has, there are a lot of people who still never heard of the brand.
Right.
Yes.
Especially people who are new to watches.
Another reason why I picked this too is because it comes with really good packaging.
It does,
a
yeah.
leather watch roll comes with it,
Mhm.
which is nice. It's multifunctional. You can put other watches in it if you have to. Also, it's a 38. We want to talk about a
38
sweet
millimeter.
spot. It's like,
Yeah, it's a sweet spot.
we like 34s. I'm wearing a 34. We all own 34s. Rashawn's pick was a 34.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not used to wearing a 34, you can almost look at it and say, nah. Like almost immediately, you're like turned off by it. You can't say that about a 38.
No.
You put this on your wrist, you
No, it's
probably
good for
have no
everybody.
choice but to like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, too, it's like when someone asks what that is, you're like, Servo Volante.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And the cool thing about this is that it's a special edition, but it's not limited. It'll be around.
Yes.
And so with
So
the
you don't have
straps
to worry
that this
about
comes
missing out.
on, it's like they're deer skin, right?
Yep, they're made out
Yes.
of deer skin.
Okay. But then it's like a special thing. It's almost like recycled deer skin.
Yeah, but and the good thing about deer skin is that it's more dense and durable than calf skin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we always say that, we pick the watches we wear, based off of our attitudes, right? Like we're dressed very casually right now, but
Sure.
the two of you guys are wearing dress watches.
Yep.
So if
Facts.
this is something you decide to daily, you have
You
a
can
deer
do
skin
it.
strap on. You can't.
I also want to be clear, like Oris is not killing deers too.
Yes, they're not. Yeah, we're not killing
This is like a
deer.
sustainable
Yep.
Yes.
offering. So just so we're clear on that too, there's a whole story to go behind this. But I think this one is dope. I saw this in person. I love this watch.
What, the green or the?
I personally, I'm in between the green and the blue.
The blue is dope.
The blue is good too.
Yeah.
And shout out to Oris, who's really doing a lot of great blue dials lately.
Yeah.
There's like,
They're showing range.
there's like 4 really good blue dials right now.
Yeah.
There's that Aquis we were just talking about. There's this, and then there is the dive watch that they just released, like the limited edition one with that watch magazine.
Time and Tide.
Not with Time and Tide. It's with another one.
It's on the bracelet, right?
It's on the bracelet.
And the strap.
Yeah. And we'll cover that in another episode. But some really, really nice, beautiful blue dial watches.
Mhm.
Blue dials coming out of Oris.
Yeah.
One of our supporters actually just purchased one. I was talking to him in the Instagram chat.
Nice.
He was in between that and another piece. I forget what the other piece was, but he popped off on
On the Oris.
the Oris.
Oh,
Good for him.
And it looked incredible.
great choice.
He sent me a picture. He sent me a little wrist check. So for me, it's funny. So I actually, funny enough, I decided to go with Hamilton. And part of the reason why is, in addition to getting a lot of requests about entry-level watch offerings, I actually had a friend reach out to me and ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a fan of Hamilton, so we spent a lot of time going over Hamilton's assortment on like what watch he should get. And he's actually attending a wedding next month, and so he's in search for a dress watch, but something that he can wear often that's interesting. And so for all of my selections, they're all Hamiltons because the conversation we have was inspired to stay with Hamilton. And one of the ones that came up was the Jazzmaster. An acquired taste.
Yes. Very acquired
But
taste.
I think it's super cool. I don't own any open heart watches. I would pop off on a Jazzmaster, and especially I think it's really cool for someone's like first entry point. They come in a number of variations. If you ever held one, it feels luxe. Hamilton watches feel nice. They have a nice case finishing. The sizes are always really good. They're always in between, they're always usually around a 40. This one is a 40 millimeter. This one is very dressy. The name, I think, is appropriate aesthetically. There's something about it that kind of reminds me of like a Dizzy Gillespie. It seems very jazzy, very Jazzmaster. It's their H10 Swiss movement. Retails for under $1,000, $995. So if you're looking for a luxury timepiece and something that is, pricey but affordable, a modest investment, I don't think you can go wrong. With a Hamilton, and the Jazzmaster is really cool. I think for someone who's new to watches, if you're wearing this to an event, and you fancy yourself becoming a watch guy, this is something that's going to turn heads. This is something that's going to strike up conversations. People are going to look at it. They're going to say, man, that's really cool. You can kind of see the movement. There's just enough hidden there. And it's a really unique way of looking into the timepiece that I think is really, really awesome. Hamilton watches are well made. This one is stainless steel that we're looking at. Lug width is 20 millimeters. 80-hour power reserve.
Yeah, I expect that.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
I didn't expect that at all.
I don't think Hamilton gets enough love. I know everyone, and he's nicknamed the Hammy, and people kind of make fun of that. But I personally, I have a love affair with Hamilton. Part of it is because they're usually featured in like some of my favorite movies. It was really big in Interstellar. That was one of the films that really I bought into it. And then there was a movie too with Denzel Washington's son, where they had Hamilton was featured, and they made a special edition watch for that film.
Was it in Tenet?
It was in Tenet. Yeah.
Yes.
Tenet. I think it's just Tenet.
Tenet.
Yeah. So the Open Heart Auto Jazzmaster, I think, is an excellent choice. It's a cool timepiece. Number of different variations. They can go up a little bit as if you add the bracelet, but you can also get it on a really nice strap. And I think
it's still not bad. It was only $100 more for the bracelet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a dope watch. It's also one of those pieces that I feel like when you see in person, you get it.
Yes.
So shout out to Hamilton.
Agreed.
The next group, Tool Watch.
Yes.
Rashawn, going back to you.
Yes.
You had the
Farah Carlton.
Farah Carlton?
Farah Carlton.
Charlton? How do we pronounce this?
I guess Charlton.
Is it? It could be.
It probably Charlton.
Yeah.
It could be whatever you want it to be right now.
Yes.
Sure. So and this is their GMT dual time.
The GMT dual time. Of course, I had to throw a GMT in the mix for me.
Sure.
Just because, I like to travel. I do like to kind of bounce around a bit and make sure that, I can call my mom at a respectable and
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to Rashawn's mom.
But I also, what I love about this watch as well is just the color palette, just how they chose to do the red GMT hand, which is classic, but then also doing that yellow pointer as well.
For the seconds, yeah.
The seconds is dope. It's also the timepiece is sold and goes towards an aquatic initiative. So it's actually for the whale and dolphin initiative. I can't remember the exact organization, but I do know that they are contributing to a good cause and kind of.
Is that what they do with like all of their watches, or is it this one in particular?
I think it's just this one in particular.
Okay.
I think it's just this one in particular that they kind of do something for marine life. And obviously we do appreciate, timepieces that go towards some kind of initiative. I feel like we've spoken about it so many different times. So if it's anything that contributes to just overall life in general and well-being, I'm dialed in.
Yeah, this one is interesting. It is a dual time, which is not something that I would expect from Far. And I hope I'm not butchering the name. It's a brand that pops up on my like Instagram feed all the time. I do follow their page. They actually do. They make really nice timepieces.
Yeah.
The dial on this is absolutely gorgeous.
The dial has some stuff going on to it. It's like sunburst, but it's also sectored.
Yeah,
it is
I was gonna
sectored.
say it's
Yeah.
sectored because it kind of.
It almost looks like a compass.
Yes, I was gonna say it has like that bit of like a pole router influence. So like it has that kind of like aviation, or like even with the colorway, you would even think that it's kind of like a dive watch when you first see it. You would think that it would have to do something with, marine life. And then ironically, it does go to, a specific cause. They're designed in Britain, so they're the British company, but their technology is Swiss.
Okay. So these are Swiss-made movements.
So they are Swiss-made movements, but all designed in Britain.
Okay.
Which is like really, really cool.
Okay, yeah, it's got a Salida movement.
So a Salida movement. So not really, I won't say like the top caliber.
I mean, it's still good, especially listen.
Exactly.
It's $14.75.
Yes.
If you're new to timepieces, so we'll give some context here. A Salida movement is, there are a couple of companies that make movements that are like readily available and sold to independent watchmakers.
Yes. Even some big brands too.
Even some big brands too.
Yeah, I mean Swatch Group.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. This one has a 42-hour power reserve. What's great about these Salida movements, though, especially for someone just getting into timepieces, right? Like you spend $1,500 on this watch. It's a beautiful watch. You're spending that kind of money on a piece. You want it to work. Mechanical watches occasionally have to be serviced.
Yes.
The beauty about a Salida movement, anybody can service it.
Yeah.
And it's relatively...
A watchmaker could work on this blindfold.
Exactly. And it's relatively inexpensive. So this is a watch you could have, quite literally, for your entire life and feel confident that should any issues arise, you can easily get it taken care of and it won't cost you a fortune.
Yes.
And it probably won't take that long to service it either.
Exactly.
Whereas like if you have like a Rolex or...
12 weeks. Minimum.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? Like you're going to wait a couple of months
Yes.
to get your watch back. This one, probably just a couple of weeks to a month.
That
Depending on how much work
Exactly.
the person has. Right?
Well, that kind of goes to your point when we even talking about like HYT back in a couple of episodes. It was like the first thing you said was, how do you service this thing?
Yeah.
God forbid these brands were to actually like, let's say for example, if a brand was to be extinct or discontinued, like NHYT, because that did happen. There is no technicians that you can find to work on this watch.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody wants to be a purist, and everybody goes, "Oh, in-house movement. If you have an Etta movement, if you have a Salida movement, if you have like, like, you know what I mean? Like, well, sure, great, but what happens when you need to scramble around and find somebody that actually can service your watch, or you are waiting 12 weeks for a watch that you really didn't want to part from?"
Yeah. No, I feel you. I mean, I got to say too, just for me, like I really love these independent brands.
Indies are where it's at.
I think they make some of the coolest looking watches. Like even like looking, they have like this night and day function on their website, and you can like see the looms work. This thing is awesome.
It's great.
It's pretty badass.
It's great.
This is a watch I would enjoy. I mean, I love what a lot of these independent brands are doing right now. They're so unique. They have their own design language for the most part. They're unafraid because, you know, in reality, many of them have nothing to lose. They only have to gain. And this is a really cool timepiece.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You, my friend.
I went with an Icon.
You went with an Icon. This
Yep.
is a watch I've been after for some time. It's easy to get. I say I've been after like I can't get it. I just haven't actually pulled the trigger on it. But you went with the Seiko Turtle.
Yep. If you see the photo of it, you see why everyone calls it a turtle. It's really
Sure.
looks and is shaped like a turtle.
Yeah.
So by
Cushion case.
You can also guess it's probably a dive watch, which it is. So yeah, cushion case dive watch from Seiko retails for $600. It's in the Prospect collection.
Mm-hmm.
The rubber strap could never go wrong. Super comfortable, and obviously, if you're gonna use it diving, you probably want a rubber strap.
Absolutely.
41-hour power reserve, so almost 2 days, and you can get them mainly automatic, but they do make a manual wind on the bracelet, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Seiko Turtles are iconic.
Yeah, very well respected in the watch community.
You will always
100%.
get respect for one
People
of
have
these.
collections of these.
Yeah. And when you see them in the wild, you see them in person, it's kind of like simpatico. You know what I'm saying?
If you
Like
know,
you're
you
with
know.
someone
Yeah.
who knows. You're
Yeah.
with someone who gets it.
Yeah.
Like you can't go wrong with one of these. I think they're super cool. As far as like what we've all shared so far, probably top pick. Like you can't go wrong. $595. It's a great price. It's a watch that I think almost any collector would be glad to have in their collection. And
They'll
we'll get a lot of
eventually
this time.
have it in the collection.
Yeah.
Everyone does eventually.
Yeah, no, these are dope. And then there are if you hunt for them too, there are some like vintage ones that are really cool with like crazy date wheels.
Yeah, the
and stuff
crazy
like
date
that.
wheels, special dials. They make a bunch of editions. So like so in the turtle family, there's GMTs. There were chronographs at one point. There was all kinds of crazy stuff. So you can find something you want for sure in this price point and an aesthetic that you want too, especially if you go vintage.
Especially
You'll
if you
find
go
a lot
vintage.
of funky stuff.
Yeah.
And again, because it's a Seiko, you can service this relatively easy.
Facts. Respect. This is dope. Yeah, I am a fan. So I guess it's my turn again. I got another hammy.
Another one.
Another one.
Another one.
So this is an interesting piece. This is the Khaki Aviation Converter Auto. This is a pilot's watch. It's very similar to a Navitimer in terms that it allows pilots to make very quick calculations. You're calculating speed, fuel usage, etc. This is not a watch that most people will actually have use for. If I'm being honest, if you're not flying a plane, you don't need this watch. But most people who buy Breitling Navitimers don't need those as well.
Yeah,
right?
Navitimers aren't chronomats for that.
No, you don't. It's just a really cool watch. And in terms of a tool watch, most tool watches you're not going to use. You know, a lot of us wear dive watches. We don't dive. I don't think I've never dived.
I've snorkeled. Don't need a dive watch for that though.
With the Stingrays?
Yeah, right on the sand. It ain't going
I
far.
use my dive watch as an egg timer on most days. But this one it's really cool and it's unique. I happen to like the aesthetic of pilot watches, and just going back to the make and the materials that Hamilton uses. I don't think they get enough credit. I think these watches feel super luxe. They've got a weight to them. They're really hefty. They feel good. The dials on these are beautiful. The bezel is fun to click around. It's very satisfying. Again, this also uses the H10 automatic movement. It's a movement that they put in most of their watches, like literally like 99%. So you've got an 80-hour power reserve. But also this thing is just a lot of fun and is a big conversation piece. So if you study up on the history, you learn about how to actually use this. It's one of those things where you can kind of just like geek out with someone who's either at the wedding or the birthday party that sees you wearing one, and you'll have a good time explaining one of these. But a favorite of mine, I actually want one of these. I think they're cool. This is like something that I would get probably before investing in a big pilot, just to kind of scratch that itch. But I think they're super dope.
Yeah, I like the color choice as well. Just kind of like that red, white, and blue, the hints of red, the prominent blue, but then those white indices is really, really cool. And then like the case, I love the case shape.
There's something about Hamilton that is like a little badass to me. Like everything they do is a little edgy.
Yeah.
But like it's still like very like sophisticated, but there's like an edginess to it that I really like.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just the influence from the movies. Like when I think of like Interstellar, I always think of Matthew McConaughey's character wearing a Hamilton watch, and there's something about him that's just like kind of like soldier, super American, like something kind of badass.
Yeah.
A little bit of an investment. It's under $1,100, $1,095, but it's a watch that'll obviously get a lot of wrist time and 80-hour power reserve. The H10 movement is a beast, and solid choice, I think. 42 millimeter. Interesting piece. But like in terms of like that guy who wants a tool watch and like everybody you know has a dive watch, here's another
this is
offering.
an alternative.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
The next category is sports watch.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna kick it back to you, Rashawn. You picked the Longines Conquest? Hydro Conquest. Hydro Conquest.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about this piece.
I mean, this piece here just like checks all the boxes. You have a few options for the Hydro Conquest. You can do the automatic. You can do the quartz. There's also the why am I losing? We were just talking about
VHP.
The VHP, which
It's like this crazy quartz movement is nuts.
So basically, we were talking about before, it kind of serves as like a perpetual calendar, but it can also...
So it's a quartz perpetual calendar.
So
Yeah, it doesn't look like a perpetual calendar in the traditional sense. It doesn't
Yes.
have date, time, leap year, any of that stuff. It's just
Okay.
a time or time and date only watch.
Gotcha.
But like the movement knows when you're in a leap year or not.
Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So it'll swap for you.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
impressive, Longines.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, and it's all done by satellites, as Ben was enlightening me about.
Satellites?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are where the position. It sets local time depending on where you are in the world.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Wow.
So I went with kind of like the perfect medium,
Okay.
being the automatic piece that can be had at 1,000.
Okay.
No. Actually, I'm sorry. The quartz can be had at 1,000. The automatic can be had at 1,600.
Cool.
But what I mean when I say like it checks all the boxes, you have the iconic, complication being a dive watch, or at least I'll say the iconic design as being a dive watch, the complication being a date. So you have a dive watch with a date. It can serve as a timer. It does, there isn't much that you can do with the diver, but have like a bezel that rotates.
Track your oxygen and cooking that.
And just like,
Time your lunch break.
Time your lunch break, just like whatever. You can do it on a strap. You can do it on a bracelet. It's one of those watches that just can be had at a great price point, and you don't have to think too much about it.
You don't have to think about it. They have. You also know that you have like a quality timepiece, but you're wearing something that has some sort of prestige, provenance, and history.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's a well-respected brand with a reputation.
Yes.
So for people who care about that in terms of investing in your first timepiece, wanting something that is A, recognizable, and B, reliable.
Yes.
I think you can't go wrong with a Longines.
Longines just has like a rich history And while we did this segment, because we do have viewers and supporters that aren't well versed in watches and may reach out to us and say, hey, what do you think about this watch? What do you think about that watch? And it's like, okay, I see that you looked at an Instagram ad and you were like, oh, you like how that looks. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to spend $1,000 on it. It's like, yeah, great. If you love it, invest in it. But I can show you something that has a little bit more of, the design, the history, and all the other things that come with it, because we do know fashion watches can be pretty popular.
Sure.
But for
if that's the route that you want to take, that's cool.
If that's the route you want to take, that's cool.
But I think at that point, you're not investing in a timepiece.
Exactly.
You're getting an accessory.
You're getting an accessory. So I think that's also another thing too, is like, where do you want to go with your watch collection? Do you want to go with, history, or do you want to go with the fads?
Cool. Yeah. Valid question. You, sir, moving along.
I picked something a little crazy.
This one is really interesting. So the Accutron Legacy.
Yep.
Tell us about this.
So the specific one that I want to show off is the one that's $1,490. It doesn't have a specific name. It's still just called the Accutron Legacy, but it's a special edition that they did, numbered to 600.
So 600 units made.
600 units made in the world.
Okay.
It's $1,500. It has a semi see-through case back, so the top half is exposed. And it is automatic, so you can see the rotor spin also. And I kind of like that they did that, because if you have a open case back, half of it's covered anyway from the rotor.
Sure.
So at least here you can see the part that's not already exposed. It's a cushion shape too, and it's also pretty thin. And it's
I like
a 38
the
millimeter
box that it comes in.
Yeah,
too.
it's a cool box. You get your numbered edition on the back. I love the shape of it. It's like a smaller cushion, and it has this almost rectangular dial. It's like if you take a rectangle and turn it sideways, but then take those longer edges and round them out.
Sure.
That's what this dial looks like. The shape is super unique.
Yeah, it's almost channeling like pipe hand dial to me, but it's still different.
And it's also pretty timeless in its design choice, because it's silver dial with just a red seconds hand.
So this one is like a reissue from a 1974 model that they did.
And the crown's at 4 o'clock. So this is something that you can buy into for $1,500.
The crown is at 4 o'clock. Wow,
you can be one of only 600 people in the world to have it.
I can't believe these are still available.
That's what I'm saying. It's not going to break the bank.
No.
And you can still buy it.
Yeah. Accutron has like this knack to kind of like limit, like they'll do limited pieces. Not necessarily like limited edition, but it'll be like numbered. It'll be like 1 of 600. It'll be 1 of so and so. And what's so cool is they stayed true to their design language and doing a 70s repro, because I own a couple of 70s watches and the crown is actually at like that 4 o'clock.
Is that a thing?
I think that was a thing.
Yeah, this one was inspired by the look of TVs in the 70s.
Interesting.
That's why, like tube TVs, right? It's a perfect thing. If you look at the screen on the tube TV, it's not a perfect square. It's rounded off on the corners and the edges. That's what this is.
No, I get that. All Accutrons kind of like, a lot of them, they do look like television
sets. Yeah.
The 4 o'clock crown though is new to me.
Yeah. On my my 70 Seiko that I shared on the show.
Yeah, Seiko and Grand Seiko do it a lot.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
And that was probably and that was roughly like their prominent years.
So funny.
As far
So
as
when I was looking for a watch to fit this category, my whole thing was that it has to come on the bracelet.
Sure.
And this is actually, you guys know I'm a stickler for straps and bracelets.
Yeah.
It's a pretty damn good bracelet.
It's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's good. This one is tight, man.
I like it.
This is dope. All right. I guess I got the last one. And it's a hammy. Khaki Field. Who'd have thought? Yeah. So the Khaki Field watch. If you are a fan of watches, you're familiar with field watches and their sort of military aesthetic and styling. the Hamilton khaki field watch, I feel like is probably the most iconic Hamilton watch.
I'd agree.
And what do you know?
There's one in front of us.
We have one right here.
Yeah.
So this one actually belongs to the producer of our show. I was prepared to come and speak about this watch, and he, like Rashawn, who stays up late at night surfing the internet for watches, made a 3 a.m. purchase and picked up this watch that we're going to talk about. I actually didn't know that he did that and was still prepared to talk about this. So it's funny that before we started filming, he walked in with us.
And the funniest thing is that it's not just a khaki field watch. It is the exact one that you were going to talk about.
Exactly.
It is the same one.
Exactly.
And it's dope. And I'm so glad that he did, because in actually holding this and handling this, it speaks to my point about Hamilton in general, right? Where it's like, and often is the case with like a lot of these watches, like if you're just seeing them online, sometimes even on Instagram, they always they look different than they do. They look different in person than they do online, all right, in these images. And I feel like Hamilton gets kind of a bad rap from watch collectors, most of which who have never handled one, because they're just seeing them online, like, I don't know. But when you actually hold one, this is a good watch. This thing is badass.
I agree.
The NATO strap it comes on is awesome.
Yeah, it's a good strap.
It's a good strap. This one looks like, I think this is PVD coated, right? It's like a stainless steel case. It's PVD coated black. You can't go wrong. This is a, and not in a derogatory term, but this is a beater watch, right? In the sense that like you can just,
So it's a tank.
it
can handle whatever you do.
can handle everything. There's no occasion where you cannot wear this piece, and it can take everything. This can be your vacation watch. This can be your dress watch. This can be your work watch. This can be your gym watch if you wanted to. Like this thing can handle everything. They're classic. It's got you've got all 12 hours. You've also got military time, right? So you run the full 24-hour cycle. This thing is a beast. I love it. 38 millimeter. So it is the sweet spot, right? This is probably, in my opinion, the best watch that Hamilton makes. And value for dollar, $545.
Yes.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that.
I agree.
I like the patinaed Luminova look on the dial.
So
It's automatic or manual?
it is. It's I think it's manually wound. It's manually wound. This one has a different movement. It's the H50, also an 80-hour power reserve. So just in terms of like reliability, robustness, value for dollar, Hamilton is just a great brand for those who are just getting into watches. And if you're into it and you fall in love with the brand, you also discover that it goes up,
Yes.
right? Like you can get more expensive pieces from them. You can get pieces that are luxury.
Yeah, I mean they make solid gold watches.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny too. Like, I think to your point, Perry, in handling this watch, you're like, oh wow, this is actually better than I thought.
It always is with a Hamilton.
Because when you look at it on, on your screen or like, your cell phone or wherever you may be like viewing this timepiece, like it's totally different than handling it. And this is just like me looking at it now. I'm like, wow, this is actually really good.
And so Hamilton, they've been around for years. It was an American company. It was an American watch company. It used to be made here. And they were purchased years ago by a Swiss company, and now they're all Swiss made.
Oh, they're great.
But a fire piece. Definitely, it's an iconic Hamilton watch. One of my favorite pieces. I think probably the perfect watch for someone that's looking for a higher end everyday piece.
Yeah.
That's kind of like no fuss.
Yeah.
I mean, get a Hamilton field watch.
Agreed.
I mean, if this is your first piece, I don't think anyone can argue with you. So solid choice to our producer.
Yo, if I
He's
do say
got
so
the
myself.
yeah.
Yes.
He's got the habit now. It's hard to kick.
Yes.
I told you.
Once
You get started. I think this is his fourth watch that he's purchased since we started the show.
Yes.
This
Was
probably
it 4 or 5? Fifth. Yeah, there we go. So he's got something else he's not showing us. Wow, that was fun. All right, so episode 15.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed this. Tried to switch things up a little bit, but also give you a little bit of what you were asking for. Continue to reach out to us. Obviously, you've been listening. We are accessible. We answer the direct messages. We answer comments. We want to talk to you. We want your feedback. And for those who are just tuning in, you can catch us at Wrist Check Pod on Instagram. We have the YouTube channel, and now we've got our own URL because we've made the limit for subscribers. So it's youtube.com/Wrist Check Podcast. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So look us up, get in touch, and we'll be in touch.
Yes.
Deuces.
Peace.